So we basically have a Liam Neeson cinematic universe at this point. I'm just really holding out hopes for a movie where all the Liam Neesons unite together to fight an evil Liam Neeson. The Commuter was directed by Wame Colette Serra and stars Liam Neeson, Vera Farmiga, and Patrick Wilson. This is a movie about a commuter who rides the train every day to work. One day, he's approached by a mysterious woman who offers him $100,000 for a simple task. But the task does not prove to be that simple. From the trailers of this movie, I went in expecting a generic action movie. And while it's not exactly Oscar-worthy, I found myself pleasantly surprised with this one. What I really enjoyed from minute one on this movie were the performances. Liam Neeson does a great job in this. He plays a role that he's played in a lot of other movies, but he's good at it, so I have to give him credit for it. There are also a few elements to his performance here that give his character some emotional depth that we haven't really seen in some of his other movies. I also really loved seeing Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson in this movie. They always do great work in my opinion, and they did great here too. Also, the action scenes were really well directed in this movie. They were beautifully shot, and they kept me really entertained. Generally, a problem that I have with these action movies is that a lot of the action scenes are really drawn out, they go on for way longer than they need to, and I lose interest. Thankfully, The Commuter avoids this issue. The action scenes never overstay their welcome. What really surprised me about this movie, though, was the writing. Like I said before, it's definitely not Oscar-worthy or anything, and it has its flaws, which I'll get into in a moment, but it kept me interested and invested in this story for the entire runtime. The script definitely has some interesting elements here, especially with how they set up the characters of this movie. That and the performances really got me invested in these characters' lives. There's also a nice, almost whodunit-like element to this movie. Liam Neeson's character essentially has to solve a mystery, and watching him go about that is pretty interesting. Like I said though, this writing is not without its flaws. There are a couple of scenes where characters immediately just trust Liam Neeson's character and completely open up to him. They even give him some pretty sensitive information after just barely knowing him. Also, the third act of this film goes completely off the rails. Pun intended. This was kind of disappointing because the movie starts off really grounded in reality, and then it just goes kind of nuts. And there's a very predictable plot twist in this ending. I usually don't go into movies trying to predict what's going to happen, but I could see this one coming. Another problem that I had was with the directing of this movie. Like I said before, the action scenes were directed really well, but some of the dialogue-heavy scenes had some weird choices in them. There are some weird camera angles thrown in there, but the scene that really stood out to me was near the beginning. It's a scene with just two characters talking, and through the whole thing, it was just really zoomed in, and there was a ton of shaky cam in it. It did not look good. And in general, although I was really entertained by this movie, it's not one that I'm going to spend a lot of time thinking about. So, all in all, The Commuter was pretty good. I'd say it's an entertaining but somewhat disposable thriller. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10.